से निवेदन करते हैं कि वह सर का माल्यार्पण द्वारा स्वागत करें। शुरुआत कर सकते।
बैकग्राउंड में चला गया। देख लीजिए शेयर हुआ।
ये आ रहा है
सर,
ये शेयर नहीं हो पा रहा है।
ठीक है ना, शेयर वो क्यों बर्बाद कर रहा है?
ठीक,
इसको सेव करना।
ठीक नहीं तो वो सब इस पे आप ठीक
आ रहा है ना?
हाँ आ रहा है।
शेयर नहीं हुआ है। ठीक है, वेलकम टू दिस Abhidhammatthasan gaha course. Today we are going to discuss Pachai Sangaho Vibhag. That is the 8th chapter of Abhidhammatthasan gaha. You might have heard about first chapter, second chapter. Roop, I think it will be discussed tomorrow. So today we are going to discuss about the Patisambhupad, law-dependent originations, as well as Pachai, that is the theory of relations. These are the two main philosophical thought of the Buddha, which have been discussed in this chapter, that is the 8th chapter of Abhidhammatthasan gaha. Before coming to the background of this chapter, that is the 8th chapter of Abhidhammatthasan gaha, let us discuss that why this chapter has been included as one of the 9 chapters of Abhidhammatthasan gaha. We are quite aware that after having got enlightenment at the Bodhi tree, Buddha realized the 12 links of law of dependent originations. That is the Abhijja Pache Sankhara, Sankhara Pache Vyan, Vyan Pache Namrup. We'll discuss each and everything. This was very profound and philosophical teachings of the Buddha. And it was so deep that Buddha thought that I will not preach the teachings of the Buddha anyone. And in the suttas you will find in the Digha Nikaya, in Majjhima Nikaya, and in Sanchukta Nikaya. Many times this law of dependent originations have been discussed. The main purpose of teachings of the Buddha is that there is no Almighty God. There is no any creator. Everything is dependent on some cause and conditions. Whatever the things which are coming or happening in our day-to-day life, all are dependent on cause and conditions. Hetu and Pachya, that is the cause and conditions. This was the main thing that whatever in other traditions we are thinking that everything is dependent and there is Almighty God, there is a creator. But Buddhism does not believe in Almighty God. We have also discussed in our previous class. The main purpose of this law of dependent origination is to philosophize or give foundations that there is no any concept of creator. All things which are happening in our day-to-day life, in previous life, in future life also, all are dependent on some cause and conditions. These cause and conditions which are taking place in our day-to-day life, all these are governed by our actions, whether they are moral or immoral, done in our past existence or in the present existence. Again, we are not going to discuss that how Mahanidana Sutta discusses about the law of dependent origination in a very detailed manner. But in Mahanidana Sutta gives only 9 links, not 12 links. But in the Sanjukta Nikaya, first of all, we are finding 11 Angas or 11 Nidanas. And in the Majjhima Nikaya, we are having the 12 links of law of dependent originations. So there are many ways of interpretations here. But coming to Abhidhammatthasan, since this Abhidhammatthasan gaha is a compendium of the teachings of the Buddha which are available in the text of Abhidhammatthasan, that is the Dhammasangani, Vibhanga, Dhatu Katha, Kathavathu, Yamak and Pathan. What we are having in our Dhammasangani, we have also discussed that how 4 reals, Chitta, Chetsika, Rupa and Nibbana, they have been discussed in the 4 chapters, namely Chittupadakanda, Rupakanda, Nikhepakanda and Athudwarkanda. And they have been discussed with the help of Matikas, Abhidhamma Matikas, which are 122 in number, and Sutant Matikas, which are 42 in number. Again, in the Vibhanga, there is a supplementary text which is called as a supplementary text of Dhammasangani. Because in Dhammasangani, the 4 reals, Chitta, Chetsika, Rupa, Nibbana, which have been elaborated in a detailed manner, now they are going to be discussed or analyzed in the 18 Vibhangas or 18 chapters of Vibhanga in a very detailed manner. There is a 5th chapter which is called as Patisambhujpad Vibhanga or Pachya Vibhanga, in which there is another way of interpretations of law of dependent origination, that all things which are happening in our day-to-day life, they are taking place within a single moment of our consciousness. We are quite aware, or we must know that what we are getting any event, they are dependent on Upad, Thiti and Bhanga. There is all things which are coming in our day-to-day life. There is a Utpad, arising, Sthiti, establishing, and Bhanga, there is a cessation of that. And in each moment of our consciousness, Ekachit Khanga, there are 3 events which are taking place, Upad, Thiti and Bhanga. So there is another way of interpretations in our Patisambhujpad Vibhanga, that is the 5th chapter of Vibhanga. Now again in the Patthana Pakarana, which is called as a last text of Abhidhammatthasan, there is another way of interpretations of law of dependent origination. And here in the law of dependent originations will come that what is the Patisambhujpad. Here is Patisambhujpad, that everything is dependent on some cause and conditions. But in the Patthana Pakarana, first of all, we are finding that how 2 things are related with each other, how the 2 events are causally related with each other. So in Patthana Pakarana, with the help of 24 types of relations or pachayas, they have been elaborated in a detailed manner. Now, Acharya Anuruddha in Abhidhammatthasan gaha, he thought that let us summarize or analyze these 2 philosophical teachings of the Buddha, that is the law of dependent originations as well as the theory of relations, that is the Pachya. which have been discussed in the Vibhanga as well as in the Pathan in a very different manner. Some of the scholars are of the opinion that in the Pathan there is a philosophical development of the law of dependent relations, which are 12 in number. But here in Pathan there are 24 types of pachayas or relations. But how the things are causally related, this has been discussed in the Pathan. So Acharya Aniruddha thought that let us summarize or analyze these two philosophical teachings of the Buddha, that is the law of dependent originations as well as theory of relations, how a thing is dependent on some cause and conditions and how the two things are causally related with each other. These two theories have been analyzed in this chapter, Pachay Sangaha Vivag, which is the 8th chapter of Abhidhammatthasan gaha. These two chapters are very voluminous. If you go through the Vibhanga, Patesambhujapad covers more than 100 pages. And in Pathan there are 6 volumes which are discussing 24 types of pachayas. And it is very difficult to summarize all these two texts with the help of Sutant, which are available in Dignikaya, Majjhim Nikaya, and Sanchukta Nikaya, in a very compendium manner, in a concise manner, or in an analysis manner, which have been discussed by Acharya Aniruddha in the 8th chapter of our this. Abhidhammatthasan gaha, and this has been given in the chapter 8th. So here, first of all, Acharya Aniruddha starts that there are two things, Sankhat Dhamma and Asankhat Dhamma. Sankhat Dhamma, that is the Sanskrit dharmas, and Asankhat means Asanskrit dharma. Let us define these, what are these two terms, Sankhat Dhamma and Asankhat Dhamma. Sankhat Dhammas are those Dhammas which are dependent on some cause and conditions. Asankhat or Asanskrit dharmas, uncomposite dharmas, are those dharmas which are not dependent on cause and conditions. That is the Hetu and Pratyay. Like Chitta Chetsik Roop, these are the 3 reals or Paramatha which are called as Sankhat Dhamma. But if you are talking a state of eternal bliss and Nibbana, that is called as Asankhat Dhamma or Asanskrit Dharma, uncomposite Dhamma. So how these two, Sankhat Dhamma and Asankhat Dhamma, they are coming into existence dependent on some cause and conditions, and how the Sankhat Dhamma individually and Asankhat Dhamma, how these two things are causally related. These two things have been discussed here in a very detailed manner. So here I am going to summarize the law of dependent originations, how it has been defined in the suttas as well as in our text. So here only the names have been given for the sake of understanding in a very detailed manner. Let us discuss that what is the law of dependent originations, what are the 12 links, what are the 12 Nidanas, how they have been divided into 3 parts. They are on the basis of the Atit, Vartaman and Pachupan. Atit, Anagat, Pachupan, how they have been divided into on the basis of the Vart circle also. There are 3 types of circles. So how these 12 Nidanas have been classified by Acharya Aniruddha, we are going to discuss. They have been also analyzed by Acharya Buddha Ghosh in the Visuddhi Magga in a very detailed manner. And Acharya Aniruddha, on the basis of the chapter which have been discussed, law of dependent originations, which has been discussed in the 14th chapter, Panya Bhumi Nidesh, in a very detailed manner. Acharya Buddha Ghosh has discussed the law of dependent originations as well as the theory of relations, that is the Pachay. On the basis of that, Acharya Aniruddha has analyzed these these two philosophical teachings, law of dependent originations and the theory of relations, in a very concise manner in the 8th chapter of our Abhidhammatthasan gaha. So this is the background of the chapter. Now we are coming that what is the law of dependent originations. We have seen that things come to existence. They are dependent on some cause and conditions. There is nothing, there is no self-independent entity. Whatever the things which are coming into existence, they are based upon cause and conditions. In Madhyam Nikaya, it has been defined, imasmim sati idam hoti, imasmim sati idam na hoti, imas upada idam upajjati, imas nirodha idam nirujjati. That if there is the existence of this, there is the arising of this. If there is a cessation of this, there is the cessation of that. So this is the law of dependent originations, that whatever the things which are coming into existence, they are based upon the cause and conditions. So you see in the very detailed manner, so he has been discussed that the things which are coming in our text and in the Mahabharata also, we are seeing that how the Mahabharata starts with the law of dependent originations, that Avidya Pache Sankhara, Sankhara Pache Biyan with the 12 links, and it has been summarized. I am not going to discuss the detail of story that how this verse has been also, that ye sam ye dhamma hetu pabha tesam hetu tathagoto tesam hetu tathagato aha tesam cha yav nirodho evam badi mahasabano. That whatever the things which are coming into existence, they are cessing. Also in Mahabharata, it has been said that yam kinchi samuday dhammam tam sam nirodha dhammam ti. That whatever the things which are arising, there is a cessation of that. And there is a definition which has been given, or there is a simile or example, that how a seed which is sown in the earth, that is called as hetu, and the pacha are the manure and the water which are poured in that, and the seed comes into a form of a small tree, and the small tree becomes young and it gives the flower and the fruits also. And after some years, the tree also falls down. So this is whatever the things which are coming into existence, they are going to cessation. So this is it is the process of conditioning things, or it gives it is a process of repeated existence also. So we have discussed that all the things which are coming into existence, they are based upon the Pachay Samaggi. That is there are many faults of the causes which are coming into existence. So everything which are coming into existence, they have been discussed in the law of dependent originations. They are 12 in number. So we will come one by one, then we will be able to understand the things. So how the law of dependent originations explains that things are coming into existence dependent on some other factors, and when one exists, there is the existence of other, and if there is no existence of anything, there is no existence of others. So this is the law of dependent origination. Next, these are the 12 links you might be aware. Abhidya Pache Sankhara, Sankhara Pache Biyan, Biyan Pache Nam Rupa Pache Phaso, Phaso Pache Salatan Pache Vedana, Vedana Pache Tanha, Tanha Pache Upadan, Upadan Pache Bhav, Bhav Pache Jati, Jati Pache Jaramar. These are the 12 links. So these are the 12 links you might have heard, but for the sake of other persons who are not aware of all these 12 links, I am going to discuss in a very detailed manner that what are these things, because these have been summarized in this chapter, that how these 12 links are divided into 3 parts, that is the Atit, Anagat and Pachupanna. Atit are the first 2, that is the Avidya and Sankhara. They are signifying the past activities of a human being, and the Jati and Jaramaran, they are the future, that is the Anagat, and the remaining 8 are called as the present. From the beyond Pachaya, Namrup till Bhava, these are showing the present existence. So here, if you see that Abhijja Sankhara Atito Adha, so Abhijja and Sankhara, ignorance and the mental dispositions are called as the past. Jati and Jaramaran, these are called as Anagat, that is the future. And Madhye Atta Pachupanna Adhati Tayo Adha. So the remaining 8 are called as the Vartaman, that is the present. So it is shown that on the basis of the present, there is the existence of the present. On the basis of the existence of the past, there is the existence of the present, and on the basis of the present, there is the incoming of the future existence. So this is the law of dependent originations. So here, ye dhamma hetu bhava, that whatever the things which are coming into existence, there is a cessation of that, and the Blessed One has said that this is the arising and ceasing of anything. So all 12 links, you can see these have been discussed in a very detailed manner, and these have been elaborated in our 8th chapter of our Abhidhammatthasan gaha. So we will come at the end of our talk that how all these, if you see that in the present, past and future, all these have been discussed in, and what are the things, all the 4 noble truths, the past existence, Avijja, Sankhara, which are showing the past, as well as present, which are showing the remaining, whatever the thing, and the future, that is the Tanha Upadan, Bhav Upadan, Sankhara, and the Jati, they are showing the future continuum. So we will come into later, and the center, if you see Abhijja and Sankhara, Abhijja and Tanha, sorry, Abhijja, that is the ignorance, Tanha, desires. These are signifying the roots of all the coming into process of repeated existence. These are the main roots. They are called as a mool. So these we'll discuss in our text. So let us discuss all these things. If you go through the 12 links from the Abhijja, there is a 12 links, and how a person is going to a state of eternal bliss. So I am not going to discuss the only we are talking today, that how the 12 links from the ignorance till the Jaramaran, that is the taking birth and becoming old, how they are coming into existence. So now, one by one, in a very brief manner, we are going to discuss the 12 links of law of dependent origination. First is the Abhijja, that is the ignorance. It has been said that ignorance is the name of the not knowing the Four Noble Truth, not knowing the law of dependent origination, not knowing the law of conditionality, not knowing the past existence, not knowing the present existence, not knowing the future existence. This is called, there are 8 kinds of ignorance which have been discussed in the text, like that Dukkhe Ayyanam, Dukh Samday Ayyanam, Dukh Nirodham Ayyanam, Dukh Nirodha Gamni Patpada Ayyanam, Idpachayata Ayyanam, Paticha Samupannesu Dhammesu Ayyanam, Pubantam Aparantam Ayyanam, Pubanta Aparantam Ayyanam. So not knowing all these things, the law of dependent originations and law of conditionality. There are 2 terms. Law of dependent origination is another thing, and law of conditionality. We will discuss each by what, that what is the law of dependent origination, so we are talking, and what is the conditionality, we will discuss in the theory of the relations. So this is the ignorance. Ignorance is the name of not knowing the Four Noble Truth, law of dependent originations, law of conditionality, not knowing the past existence, future existence, and the present existence. This is called as ignorance or avijja. In a very simple manner, avijja can be also defined that dham sabhav patichadhan lakhanati avijja, that it is the name of the not knowing or covering the nature of the reality, that all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to soulless. Not knowing the tilakhana, that is the anicca, dukkha and anatta, this is called as ignorance, that is the avijja. Next, sankhara, that is the mental dispositions or mental activities. We have also seen that sankharas are, there are 52 types of psychic factors. You might have heard in the lecture of Sikaj. Vedana is one, Sanya is one, and sankharas are 50 in number. Sankharas are mental associates or mental dispositions or mental activities, or you can say psychic factors. What are these? They are dependent on the ignorance. And on the basis of the ignorance, there is the arising of this mental activities, which are 3 in number. That is the punya abhisankhara, apunya abhisankhara, and ananja abhisankhara. Punya abhisankhara, if you go through the psychic consciousness, there are 13 types of chittas, namely 8 kamavachar sahetuk and 5 rupavachar kusala chitta. Altogether, there are 13 types of consciousness which are called as punya abhisankhara, that mental dispositions related with the moral consciousness. There are 12 types of kusala chitta which are producing the 12 types of punya abhisankhara, that is the mental dispositions based upon the 12 types of immoral consciousness. And there are ananja sankharas, which are 4, that is the arupavachar, 4 types of chittas which are producing the 4 types of ananja abhisankhara. So altogether 13 types of punya abhisankhara, 12 types of punya abhisankhara, and 4 types of ananja sankharas. These are the name of the mental activities or mental dispositions or sankharas. So this is the, and they are coming on the basis of the avijja, not knowing the Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path, law of dependent originations. Now, based upon these punya abhisankhara, apunya abhisankhara, and ananja abhisankharas, there is the arising of beyond. That is the, we have seen that there are, on the basis of the beyond, there is the arising of nam and rupa. So what is the, it is the name of the 29 types of consciousness. If you go through the 12 types of immoral consciousness, akusala chitta, and then 8 types of kamavachara sahetuk, altogether akusal, kusal 20, 5 types of rupavachar kusala chitta, and 4 types of arupavachar chitta. Altogether there are 29 types of consciousness, 29 types of consciousness which are called as the consciousness. And out of the 29 types of consciousness, only 9 types of consciousness are producing in the form of nam and rupa. We will come together that how there is a combination of the nam rupa in the womb of the mother. So here our birth consciousness or beyond is the name of the 29 types of consciousness which are dependent on the our punya abhisankhara, apunya abhisankhara, and ananja abhisankhara. So they are coming into existence on our mental dispositions. So if you go through the, all these have been discussed in a very detailed manner, you can note down. In the next, we are going to discuss the mind and matter, beyond pachaya nama rupa. So here there is a incoming of nama rupa, that is the mind and matter. We have discussed in our previous class also that man is a composition of mind and matter. In another way, man is a composition of Nam and Rupa. In another way, a man is a composition of 5 aggregates: Rupa Skandha, Vedana Skandha, Sangya Skandha, Sankhara Skandha, and Vijnana Skandha. In another way, man is a composition of 12 bases, Dwadas Aitan, or 18 elements, or 18 dhatu. So we are going to discuss what is the Nam. The literal meaning of Nam is Namati iti Nam, that which leans towards the object. There are 6 senses: Chakhu, Sot, Ghan, Jihva, Kaya, and Man. There are 6 objects also: Alambana, Rup, Sad, Gandha, Rasa, Fotabba, and Dhammayatana. Leaning of the any 6 kinds of the senses towards their respective object. This is called as Namati or Nama. Namati means that which leans towards the object. But in Dhammasangani, there is a question, Tat Katmam Namam. What is Nam? It has been defined as in Vedana Khando, Sanya Khando, Sankhar Khando, Vyan Khando, Asankata cha dhatu idam bucchati namam. That Nam is the combination of Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, which are 52 types of psychic factors, Chetsikas, and 89 or 121 types of Chit, that is the consciousness. So this Nam is the combination of Chit and Chetsik. In Bimalendra Pahyo, there is a question, Tat Katmam Namam, Chit Chetsika Dhammati Namam. So here the Nam signifies the Chit and Chetsik, that is the 89 types of consciousness or 121 types of consciousness, and 52 types of psychic factors are making the Nam. Okay. Now, what is Rupa? The literal meaning of Rup is Rupati ti Rupam, that which changes itself at every moment. In Vibhanga, it has been defined as a Yam Kinchi Rupam Atita Nagat Pachpannam va, Jhattam va, Bahidda va, Olarikam va, Sukhmam va, Hirnam va, Panitam va, Tad Ekajam Abhisahitva Idam Bucchati Sabbham Rupam. But in Dhammasangani, in the Rupa Kanda, Rupa has been defined as Chattaro cha Mahabhuta, Chatunnam cha Mahabhutanam, Upadai Idam Bucchati Sabbham Rupam. So, Rup is the name of the 4 basic material qualities, Mahabhut, namely Pathavi, Apo, Tejo, Bayo, and 24 types of generated material qualities, that is the Upada Rup, which are 24 in number. So, altogether, Rup is the name of the 28 types of material qualities. Here, Rup, whenever we say, there are so many English translation of the Rup, form, materiality, or object, but the exact, it is the material quality, because every matter or each matter has its own quality. Even the grass has its own quality of greenness. So every matter has its own quality. That is why Rup has been defined as a quality or material quality. So here we are going to discuss that how a man is a combination of our 5 aggregates. So first of all, here Rup we have discussed, that is the Chattaro cha Mahabhuta, Chatunnam cha Mahabhutanam. It is the name of the Patvi, Apo, Tejo, Bayo, and 24 types of generated material qualities based upon the 4 Mahabhut. Then there is the Vedana. Vedana is the feeling which is being experienced by touching of any object. There are 6 objects and there are 6 senses. Whenever our any sense which comes into contact with any object, whether eye, ear, nose, tongue, or body, whenever it comes in contact with the respective objects, namely Rup, Sad, Gandh, Rasa, Fotabba, then there is the arising of the feeling. And this is called as Anubhavan Lakkhanati Vedana, that it has the quality or it has the characteristics of being experienced. There are 5 types of the Vedana: Somanasa Vedana, Sukha Vedana, Domanasa Vedana, Dukha Vedana, and Upekha Vedana. But Vedana here, it is one of the mental factor also. That is the one of the 52 types of psychic factors. Then Sanya. Sanya is the mental perceptions or mental, you can say, cognitions. Whenever the things are being known, and it has been defined as Nil Pita Adi Bhedena Sanjanati iti Sanya. That Sanya or perceptions is that through which we are able to know the form and color of any object. That is the Rupa, Sad, Gandha, Ras, Photabba or Dhammayatana. When we are able to know the form and color of any object, this is through the Sanya. And Sankharas, which are 50 in number. Vedana is one, Sanya is one, and Sankharas are 50 types of mental factors or psychic factors, which we have already discussed in our that Vedana Abhijja Pache Sankhara, and which have been discussed in Punya Visankhara, Punya Visankhar, and Ananja Visankhar. So here Sankharoti iti Sankharas, the Sankharas are the mental activities or mental factors or dispositions. Then there is the Beyond. Beyond is here Alamban Chinteti Chittam Vijanati Yatho. That chit is that which thinks of an object. But through the Beyond, we are able to know the object. Vijanati Atho. That it is in the sense of knowing the object. Whenever the objects are being cognized by any sense of our human being, whether it is Chakhu, Sot, Ghan, Jihva, Kai, and Man, this is called as Beyond. So knowing the objects through the any sense, this is called as Beyond, and they are 89 or 121 types of consciousness. So this is the our whole thing. And this Nam and Rupa, we have seen that in the previous Beyond Pachya Nam Rupa. Beyond are the 29 types of consciousness which are taking help of the Rupa in the arm of the mother. That is called as Hadai Bathu. Hadai Bathu is the one of the material qualities, 28 types of material qualities, which takes association in the arm of the mother with the 29 types of our Beyond. And actually only there are 19 types of consciousness which are taking place with Hadai Roop in the arm of the mother. And Hadai Bathu becomes the arising of our Nam Roop. It is acting just as a base. So this our Roop and Beyond, they are taking place in the arm of a mother, and then there is a combination of our human personality in the human being. So this is the Beyond Pachya Nama Rupa. Now there is a Beyond Pachya Nama Rupa Pachya Fassayo. When there are 89 types of consciousness or 121 types of consciousness, they are the, in another way, 6 senses and 6 bases. All they are taking places. And each 6 senses, like Chakshu Sampasa, Chakhu Biyanam Upajjati. So when there is a contact of any rope with the Chakshu, when the Chakshu comes in contact with any object, then this is the arising of the, you can say, senses. And namely, there are 6 senses. So there are 6 senses here also. So they are coming. And in another way, they are the 89 types of consciousness, Dui Panch Beyond. If you go through that Dui Panch Beyond, they are the name of the only 10-fold consciousness, 10 types of our consciousness. So this is another type. And we have already discussed that Chit is nothing, but it is another way of Kriya or action. And that is why all the manifestations of our actions are being performed by our mind also. We have already discussed. So these 6 senses are coming into our actions based upon the Nam Rupa. And based upon the 6 senses, there is the arising of the contact, that is the first. And whenever there are objects, that is the Rupa, Chakhu, or sound or the ear, Then there is a contact which is called as, and each sense, like chakhu, sot, ghan, jihva, kaya, man, they are appearing on the basis of the situation whenever they are coming, and whenever there is a contact, this is called as phas. So that is why it is called as chakshu sampasa, chakhu biyanam upajjati, sot sampasa, sot biyanam upajjati. So there are 6 kinds of the phas, they are coming into existence, and based upon this 6 senses, there is a salaytan pachaya phasayo. So we have seen in our last class, the last slide, that there are 6 senses. So based upon the 6 senses, there are 6 types of contact also. Now there is the Vedana. We have seen that, and whenever we are making classification of our consciousness, you might have seen that how on the basis of the feeling, we have seen that somanas sahagatam yan sampayuttam asankharikam sasankharikam upekha sahagatam yan vipayuttam or yan sampayuttam asankharikam sasankharikam. So what is Vedana? Vedana is that which is being experienced by touching of any object. There are 6 objects by any one of the 6 senses. So this is the Vedana. Vedana has been defined that sa vediti iti Vedana, or it has the characteristics of being experienced by touching anything. There are 5 in number: Somanas Vedana, Sukha Vedana, Domanas Vedana, Dukha Vedana, and Upekha Vedana. Then we are coming to the Tanha, and we have seen that how Avijja and Tanha, these are the main roots of arising our suffering. So whenever there is a sense, whether it is chakhu or any object or rupa, whenever there is a contact, there is a arising of somanasa vedana or dukha vedana also. Whenever there is a somanasa vedana, pleasant mental and physical feeling, there is a arising of attachments towards that object also. And whenever there is a attachment, that is the rag, it creates, that is the trishna, that is the desire. And if you go through the second noble truth, dukh samuday arya satyam, yayam tanha punobhavika nandi rag sahagata, tatra tatra abhinandani sehtitam kamatana bhautana vibhautana. That whatever there is rag and attachment and the lust, based upon the lust and the attachment, there is the arising of the kamatana, bhautana, vibhautana. There are 3 types of desires which are coming into existence based upon the Vedana. And kamatana is that desire related with the pleasure being experienced by our 6 senses. And bhavatanha, that a desire to remain in this process of repeated existence, is called as bhavatanha. And vibhavatanha is the name of not remaining in this process of repeated existence. So there are 3 types of desires which have been discussed in under this. And based upon the tanha, if there is a arising of the tanha, then we try to take that object also. Whenever there is the attachment with the object, then there is the arising of desire. And whenever the desires comes in our mind, then our actions are being performed, that how the things are being taken by the things, how the beautiful flowers which are blooming, and how do we wish to pluck it from the garden. So this is the desire. And whenever any desire is translated into an action, this is called as a upadan. So based upon the tanha, there is the arising of the upadan. So what is the upadan? That is, upadan has been discussed as a balvati tanhati upadanam. That whenever the desires becomes a strong and it is translated into an action, this is called as upadan. But coming to Abhidhamma traditions, upadan, there are 4 types of upadan. That is the strong desire. They are kam upadan, ditthi upadan, and attavad upadan, Kam, Ditti, At, Silvat, Upadan. There are 4 types of a strong desire. So whenever a strong desire related with the sensual pleasure, this is called as Kam Upadan. Then Ditti, that is the false views. Strong desires related with the false views is called as Ditti Upadan. And whenever a strong desires are related with performing rites and rituals, this is called as Silvat Upadan. And Attavad, that whenever the desires is translated into that there is a permanent entity in the personality of a being, that Attavad, there is a soul or there is a permanent entity in the personality of a being, then this is called as Attavad Upadan. So this Upadan functions in 4 ways. So there are 4 types of Upadan. Again, next, based upon the strong desire, there is the rising of, or there is a incoming of bhava, that is called as a Kama bhava. And all these bhavas are dependent on our actions or consciousness also. So there are 2 types of bhava, that is the process of repeated existence, Kama bhava and Upatti bhava. So all the 29 types of consciousness, whatever we have seen, the 29 types of consciousness are called as Kama bhava. That these 29 types of consciousness which we have seen in the case of the Abhijja Pache Sankhara, Sankhara Pache Beyond. In the case of Beyond, the 29 types of consciousness, they are coming into existence, they are called as Kama bhava. And whenever there are resultant of those 29 types of consciousness, they are called as Upatti bhava. That they are called as Upadan or resultant of those actions. So it is another name of activities or Sankharas. They are 29 in number. So this is the consciousness, and these 29 types of consciousness are called as Kamma Bhava. That is they are forcing a person in coming into process of repeated existence again and again. And based upon these actions, there are resultant actions, resultant of those actions also, and they are called as Upatti Bhav. Again, next. So based upon the Kamma Bhav and Upatti Bhav, there is the arising of the Jati, that is the birth. Birth or Jati is the name of the incoming of the 5 aggregates into existence. Whenever the Roop Khand, Vedana Khand, Sanya Khand, Sankhar Khand, Biyana Khand, they are coming into existence in the form of Nam and Rupa. This is called as Jati. Panchakanthanam Patu Bhavoti Jati. So Jati or birth is the name of the arising or incoming of the 5 aggregates, namely Rupa Khanda, Vedana Khanda, Sanya Khanda, Sankhar Khanda, and Biyan Khanda. And these are all dependent on the seed of our actions, which are dependent on the moral actions and immoral actions done in our past existence. So that is why it is called as Kam Bij. Now, based upon the Jati, there is the Jara and Marana. Jara is the becoming, decaying, or you can say becoming old also. And Maran is the death. Maran is the Machu or Panchakhandhanam, Antardhanam. Or in another way, it has been defined as Jivit Indriyas Upachedoti Marnam. That wherever there is a destruction of the life vitality, Jivit Indriya, this is called as death. And Jara is that whenever our 5 aggregates become weak, they are, whenever there is a wrinkling of the skins on the body, when the bones are becoming weak in our body, this is the name of Jara. And Maran is the name of the, you can say, Antardhanam, that is the destruction of the Panchakhandaj, or it is another name of the destruction of the life vitality, that is the Jivitindriya. So these are the 12 links which make is 12 links of law of dependent originations. So we have seen that everyone is dependent. Abhijja Pachaya Sankhara, Sankhara Pachaya Bhyan, Bhyan Pachaya. So everything is dependent on some cause and conditions. So this is called as law of dependent originations. So here Patich etasmati pachayo. Here Patich Sambuchpad has been defined that everything is dependent on some hetu and the pachay. Hetu is in the sense of roots. That is the mul athena hetu. Just like the roots are giving the support of standing of any tree. In the same way, alobha dosa moha, lobha dosa moha, they are giving support of performing any 89 or 121 types of consciousness. So this is called as our 12 links of dependent origination. So everything is dependent on some cause and conditions. So this is the law of dependent origination. The whole 12 links have been summarized in this photograph. If you go through the mouth of in the top, it shows the Jamaraj, that how Jamaraj is the sign of the death. And if you see in the center, in the middle, there are Avijja and the Tanha, that is the ignorance and the desire. They are called as the roots of arising of the suffering. And just above the center, you will find there are three animals, a snake, wolf, and these are called as Kamatanha, Bhautanha, and Vibhautanha. So all the 12 links, they have been given in the whole circle. If you see, Abhijja Pachaya Sankhara, Sankhara Pachaya Bhyan, all the 12 links have been given, and how they have been divided into three, that is the Atit, Anagat, and Pachupanna. So they have been divided here, and how a person, if you see that Sansar and Nirvan, how the Sansar, the left and the right one, the Nirvan, they are showing in the picture. So all the 12 links of the law of dependent originations, they have been summarized in this photograph. Now, in another way, in Thanka painting, if you see the how law of dependent originations have been depicted in a different manner, and it is more clear than the previous one. So you can analyze the things in a different manner. And in this black and white, you can find out that how the Sansar and Nirvan, they are signifying, and how the Klesh Bhatt, Bhatt, and Vipak Bhatt, these are the three circles which are depicted in this photograph. So you can visualize all these things. Now, if you come to the text, then now it is the base of all these have been summarized in this our Pachay Sangaha Vibhago, and how this Sankata Dhamma, that is the composite states and non-composite states, that is the Asankata Dhamma, how they are dependent on some cause and conditions. So they have been discussed on in the 8th chapter of Abhidhammatthasan gaha. If you have text, you can go through that, how the text defines all these Sankata Dhamma and Sankata Dhamma. And then in the Dobhidono, there are two folds of, or two methods of analyzing the law of dependent originations, that Patissamujpadanayo, Patthanayo. These are the two things. Patissamujpadanayo, this is the law of dependent originations, and the Pathananaya, that in the text Patthana, which is the last text and seventh text of Abhidhammappitaka, how the things are causally related with each other, how the two events are taking place and how they are causally related with each other, they have been defined in Pakarana with the help of 24 types of Pachayas. We will discuss in our next class. So here there is a brief descriptions of all these 12 types of law of dependent originations. So here, if you see Patissamujpadana, page number 212, if you go through, Tat Abhijja Pachaya Sankhara, Sankhara Pachaya Bhyan, Bhyan Pachaya Namarup, Namarup Pachaya सलायतन सलायतन पचय, फस्सो फस्सो पचय, वेदना वेदना पचय, तन्हा तन्हा पचय, उपादान उपादान पचय, भव भव पचय, जाति जाति पचय, जरा मरण. So all the 12 links, they have been enumerated here. So you can go through the, and lastly it is ayam et paticca samutpadanayo. This is the method or the fold by understanding the teachings of the Buddha by law of dependent originations, that how the a thing is dependent on some cause and conditions. This is the, you can say, law of dependent originations. If you go through the next text, you will find that how the text defines it. They are summarizing what it has been discussed in the Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sanjukta Nikaya, as well as in Vibhanga and Kathavattu, sorry, Patthana Pakarana of Abhidhammatthasan. So Tat Tayo Adha, there are, Adha means Kal, that is the time. There are three types of time, that is the Atita Kal, Vartaman Kal and Anagat Kal. That is the past, present and the future. So all the 12 links have been divided into our three types of Kal, that is the Adha. Dwadas Angani, there are 12 links of law of dependent originations. Visati Akara, there are 12 kinds of the modes also, which have been, the 12 links have been divided into the 20 types of the 12 law of dependent originations, and there are 8 types of Vartman, that is the present, that is the Kamma Bhava. They are making as a Visati Akara, and then there are Ti Sandhi, there are 3 yoga, or there are 3 yogas also. Chatur Sankhepa Tini Vattani, there are 3 types of Vatta or Varta or circle, that is the Klesha Vatta, Kamma Vatta and Vipak Vatta. Dve Mulani, there are 2 kinds of the roots, that is the Avidya and the Tanha. Cha Beditabbani may be understood. And later on, all the details have been given. If you go through Tayo Adha, there are 3 times, there are 3 periods also. What are they? Avidya Sankhara Atito Adha. The first 2 Avidya Pachaya Sankhara. So Avidya and Sankhara, they are signifying the past, that is the Atita Kal. Then Jati Jara Maran, the last 2 the birth and the old and death, they are called as a Anagat, that is the future time. Then Madhya At Pachpanno, and in the middle, 8 are called as Pachupan, that is the Vartaman or present time. So how Dwadasangani, if you go through all the names have been given, the Abhijja, Pache Sankhara, the Abhijja Sankhara, till here Jati Jaraman, 12 links have been given here. How it becomes Visati Akara, Abhijja Sankhara, Gahanena Panith, Tanha Upadana Bhavapi, Gahita Bhavanti. So based upon the Abhijja and the Sankhara, that is the ignorance and the mental dispositions, Tanha, that is the desire, Upadan, that is the strong desire, Sangahita Bhavanti, they are coming into existence. Tatha, and Tanha Upadan Bhav Gahenena, and desire, a strong desire, and the process of repeated existence. When they are taken together, they are called as Abhijja and Sankhara. And Jati Jara Maran, Jati Jaraman Gahanena, by taking together birth and the old and death, there is the beyond Adi Phal Panchakam Meva Gahitam Tikatva. So altogether they have been summarized in the verse. If you see, Atite Hetavo Panch Idani Phal Panchakam, Idani Hetavo Panch Ayatim Phal Panchakam. So there are 12 types of modes, there are 3 types of sandhij, and there are 4 types of, in very brief manner, they have been summarized here. So lastly, there are, what are the 3 types of Bhattani? There are 3 worth, there are 3 circles also. How the 12 links of the law of dependent origination, they are divided into three types of circles. Abhijja, Tanha, Upadana, they are called as Kilesa, Kilesa Varth. What is Kilesa? Kilesas are the defiling factors or immoral factors which are darkening our consciousness or which are blackening our consciousness. जो चित्त को गंदा करते हैं या काला करते हैं, they are called as क्लेश. So there are three links, namely Abhijja, Tanha and Upadan. They are darkening or blackening our consciousness. So this is called as Kilesh Vat or Kilesh defiling factor circle. Then Kam Bhav Sankhato Bhav Ek Deso Sankhara Kam Vat. So here we have seen Bhav. There are two types of Bhav, Kam Bhav and Upatti Bhav. So here Kam Bhav and the Sankharas, 29 types of consciousness, they are called as Kam Vat. That is the circle related with the actions, Kam Vat. And then there is a lastly Vipak Vat. They are Upatti Bhav, the resultant of the 29 types of moral consciousness and immoral consciousness done by a person. They are making the Vipak Bhat, that the circle of the resultant of the moral and immoral actions. So this is the Vipak Bhat, and in this way there are all 12 links. They have been divided into three types of circles, Tini Bhattani and Dve Mulani. There are two types of roots, that is the Abhijja and Tanha, the ignorance and the desire. That is we have seen that Abhijja is the not knowing the Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path, law of dependent originations, past existence, present existence, and future existence, not knowing the law of conditionality, not knowing the law of dependent origination. This is called as Abhijja, and Tanha, that is the desire for sensual pleasure, Kama Tanha, Bhav Tanha, and Vibhav Tanha. These are the two types of Mool, that is the roots. They are called in the sense of because they are the base of arising of the suffering of a human being. Desmevo cha mulanam nirodhena nirujhati. And by removing these two types of roots, that is the Abhijja and the Tanha, all the cessation, that is the Dukh Nirodha Gamani Patipada Arya Satcham. So there is the arising of eightfold path. So this is the by removal of Tanha and Tanha and Abhijja, we can remove our suffering. So these have been discussed. The lastly, you see that Jara Maranu Pachai Pilimanam Abhinanso Asavanam Samupada Abhijja Cha Pavattatri. So by removal of the Jara and Marana, becoming old and death, a person can get a state of eternal bliss. Asavanam Samupada, by arising of the asavas, there is the arising of Avijja, that is the ignorance. What is the asava? Let us discuss. The asavas are those defiling factors which are functioning in a intoxicant manner, just like a drug or any alcohol makes intoxicated a person. In the same way, asavas are those immoral factors which intoxicate a person. They are four in number: Kamasav, Bhavasav, Ditthyasav, and Avijjasav. So by these asavas, there is the arising of all the ignorance. Whatever we have seen, that Avijja Pacha Sankhara, the ignorance is the name of our four types of asavas. So whenever the four types of asavas are removed, there is the removal of the Avijja also. So Battam Avandha Michevate Bhumak Adivam Patismuspadoti Patapesi Mahamuni. So by the Blessed One, who is the great sage, he has explained the law of dependent originations in a very detailed manner. So this is the summarizing or essence of the teachings related with the law of dependent originations, which have been discussed in the Mahanidana Sutta, in other suttas of Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, and Sanjukta Nikaya, as well as two texts of Abhidhammatthasan, that is the Vibhanga and the Pathan. These have been summarized by Acharya Anuruddha in this Chapter-8 Sangaho Vibhag. So this is the end. In the next class, we will discuss the Pathan, that is the method of the theory of relations. Tomorrow in the morning, we will discuss. If you have questions, let us make hair done. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद सर। मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि जैसे आपने बताया द्वादश निदान या द्वादश अंग के बारे में, तो उसमें प्रत्येक जो है जैसे अविद्या, संस्कार, ये आपका भूतकाल में है और 8 वर्तमान काल में है और लास्ट का 2 जाति और जरा मरण भविष्य में। तो सर जी, तो इसमें सर कोई कनेक्शन है, कुछ ऐसी चीज है जो एक दूसरे को जोड़ रही है, मतलब कुछ ऐसा तत्व है विद्यमान जो पहले को दूसरे से जोड़ रहा है, कुछ नित्य तत्व है सर क्या ऐसा? इसको सर एक मतलब जैसे थोड़ा और समझाएं तो इसको हम ऐसे कह सकते हैं जैसे दूध है, अब दूध से पहले हमने बनाया दही, दही से फिर उसको और किया तो उससे मट्ठा और फिर घी, तो इस सब में जो मूल चीज पाई जाती वो तरलता पाई जाती। तो क्या सर इन सब में जो द्वादश निदान है इसमें कुछ ऐसा मूल तत्व है तरलता जैसा कुछ? यदि ऐसा है तो फिर शाश्वतवाद हो जाएगा, नित्यता हो जाएगा, परिवर्तनशील तो रहा नहीं, क्योंकि एक ऐसा कोई तत्व है जो उसमें कहीं ना कहीं मूल रूप से पाया जा रहा। तो ऐसा यदि नहीं है सर ऐसा, तो फिर वो क्या है जो इसको कनेक्ट कर रहा है एक दूसरे को, कुछ इसमें मूल है सर ये? थैंक यू।
कनेक्शन है वो है, आवाज आ रही है कि नहीं आ रही है? बड़े होकर बोल सकते हैं आ रही है? हाँ, जो हम एक कनेक्शन की बात कर रहे हैं दैट इज कॉल्ड एज चित्त संतति। अभी जो भी हम लोग अविद्या पचय संखारा, संखारा पचय वियान, वियान पचय नाम रूप पचय सलायतन, सलायतन पचय भस्सु, भस्सु पचय वेदना, इस सब सारा हमारा चित्त कनेक्शन है, इसमें एक दूसरे से जुड़ा हुआ है। जो अविद्या है हमारे पूर्व जन्मों के अकुशल और कुशल कर्मों का विपाक एक तरह से है, जिसके कारण हम नहीं जान पा रहे हैं कि 4 आर्य सत्य क्या है, अष्टांगिक मार्ग क्या है, प्रत्येक समुत्पाद क्या है, या लॉ ऑफ कंडीशनैलिटी क्या है, ये हम नहीं जान पाते हैं कि पूर्व जन्म में क्या था, अभी वर्तमान जन्म क्या है, ये हम नहीं जान पाते हैं। तो ये एक जहाँ तक संबंध की बात आ रही है, यहाँ पर केवल संबंधों को बतलाया गया कि कैसे एक चीज एक दूसरे से जुड़ी हुई है। तो यहाँ पर जो अविद्या है, अविद्या के कारण ही हमारा संस्कार उत्पन्न हो रहा है, संस्कार के कारण ही हमारा विज्ञान उत्पन्न हो रहा है, विज्ञान के कारण ही हमारा नाम रूप उत्पन्न हो रहा है। तो जो एक संबंध है एक हमारा देख रहे हैं कि यहाँ पर एक कर्म, इसलिए कहा जाता है कि चेतना भिक्खवे कम्मम बदामी चेतित्वा काय कम्मम वचि कम्मम अनुकम्मम। तो यहाँ पर सबसे जो चेतना को प्रधान बतलाया गया है, भगवान बुद्ध कहते हैं कि ओ मॉन्क्स आई कॉल वोल्यूशन एज एन एक्शन। यहाँ पर चेतना को प्रधान, चेतना भी जो है 50 प्रकार के जो संस्कार हैं उसमें चेतना वन ऑफ द 50 टाइप्स ऑफ मेंटल डिस्पोजिशंस कहे जाते हैं, उसमें से एक चेतना जो प्रमुख पाई जाती है, और वही चेतना जो है सारे हमारे कर्मों को करने के लिए बाध्य करती है। तो जहां तक संबंध वाली बात है, और कौन सा ऐसा व्हाट इज दैट एनर्जी और व्हाट इज दैट फोर्स विच मेक्स ए पर्सन टू परफॉर्म एन एक्शन, तो यहाँ पर चेतना आ जा रही है। चेतना के कारण ही हम चेतयित्व की चेतना, जो चेतना ही हमको एक तरह से काम करने के लिए प्रेरित करती है, चाहे वह कुशल कर्म हो या कुशल कर्म हो, तो वो चेतना के कारण ही, चित्त के कारण ही सारा काम होता है। चित्तेन नियति लोको, आपको पिछले क्लास में भी बतलाया गया कि ऑल थिंग्स आर बीइंग गवर्न्ड बाय आवर चित्त। चित्त ही सारा हमारा संसार और निर्वाण को निर्धारित कर रहा है। तो जहां तक एक कनेक्शन आप खोजने की बात कर रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पर चित्त आ रहा है। वही जहां आप ये बात कहना चाह रहे हैं कि जो हमारे हिंदू परंपरा में जिस चीज को हम आत्मा की संज्ञा देते हैं, वही नाम हम लोग बौद्ध परंपरा में चित्त संतति को कहते हैं। सेम चीज वही है कि नहीं? अस्थाई नहीं, लेकिन यही इसी का तो विवाद है। यहाँ पर कहा जा रहा है कि वही चित्त नचो अयो नामम रूपम च खौपट संदहति, नाम रूप जन्म ले रहा है, लेकिन यह नाम रूप वह नाम रूप नहीं है। उस नाम रूप के द्वारा कुशल और कुशल जो कर्म किया गया, उसके विपाक के द्वारा दूसरा नाम रूप जन्म हुआ। इसलिए हम वह नहीं कह सकते हैं कि वह वही आत्मा है जो आप कहना चाह रहे हैं, वह वही चित्त है जो कि वर्तमान में जो चित्त हम कर रहे हैं। But this चित्त what we are performing, this is mainly dependent on the actions which have been performed by us in our past existence. तो वो एक दूसरे से जुड़ा हुआ है। हम उसको दूसरों आत्मा के नाम से या इटर्नलिज्म के नाम से जोड़ सकते हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पर हम शाश्वतवाद को हम मानते नहीं है। देयर इज नथिंग इटर्नल। इसलिए हम इसको कह रहे हैं कि नचो वो चित्त वह तो नहीं है, लेकिन वो उससे भिन्न भी नहीं है। ठीक है? और नहीं, विरोधाभास नहीं है ये इसके ऊपर एक आधारित है। मिलिंद पहियों में इसी पर एक बहुत बड़ा विवाद चला है आचार्य नागसेन और मिलिंद के बीच में, और यही स्थापित करने के किया गया है कि नाम रूप जो भी है वह नहीं है, उससे भिन्न है। ठीक है? और कोई? हम
Thank you, sir. Sir, there was a slide before that ignorance is one, and it was a kind of flow chart representing some kind of radiant wheel. So may you please throw some more light on that particular slide? That is specific.
इग्नोरेंस वाला किया
रेडियंट व्हील करके एक फ्लो चार्ट वाला स्लाइड था। स्लाइड में कई सारे एलिमेंट्स हैं। सो उस पे सर थोड़ा और प्रकाश डालिए, क्योंकि वो कैसे कनेक्शन बन रहा है एजिंग एंड डेथ से, बीच में सफरिंग एंड देन faith and contentment, rupture, then calmness, bliss, and etc. So I want to understand that particular flow chart, sir. Thank you.
These left side you are seeing that there are 12 links. ठीक है? Abhija Pache Sankhara, these are given in the English also, Dwadas Nidan also.
That is quite interesting.
Okay?
Yeah.
So after the 12 links which are making the whole process of our repeated existence, and if a person who is desirous to get a state of eternal bliss or nirvana, okay, then he has to purify his consciousness also. He has to purify his consciousness. Then first of all stage number
first one is faith.
Faith. You have to be very much faithful. You must have saddha or shraddha in the teachings of the Buddha. That is the Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. You must have faith. Until unless you do not have faith, you cannot generate confidence about your teacher. If you do not have faith, then there will be doubt in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha also. So for that there is the arising of faith, and that is why it is called as Sampasadana Lakhana Saddha, Sampakhandana Lakhanacha. Saddha is just like a purifying gem that it makes consciousness free from all the doubts. So until unless you do not have Saddha, you cannot generate your moral actions through which you are going to get a state of eternal bliss.
Yeah, then contentment.
Yeah. Santutti param dhanam. You must have been, so a monk or a yogavachar who is desirous to get a state of eternal bliss, he has to be very content with the four things: chivara, pindapat, the meals, rukhmul senasan, staying at the roots of the tree, and only putti mut bhesaj parikhar, the medicines which are made up of urine and herbal medicines. These are the 4 things or requisites which are supposed for a yogavachar. You have to be very contented, or you have to be very satisfied. You do not have to any desire besides these 4 things.
Okay. Then
Then
rapture.
Then the rapture comes in the sense of jhana, that is the samadhi. Here kusala chittasya ekaggata, one pointedness of the moral consciousness is called as, you can say, samadhi. Now you have to come to the rupa bhumi. We have already discussed that you have to curtail the panch nivarnas. That is the kama chanda vyapad thinimidh udhat kukuch and vichikitsa. These are the 5 obstacles which are putting a person obstacle in the path of concentrations. So this is the rapture. You have to develop Rup Samadhi and Arup Samadhi. And in another more classifications, there are 40 subjects of meditations. 44 kamathan, 10 Asubh, 10 Kasin, 10 Anushati, 4 Brahma Viharaj, 1 Chatu Dhatu Bhavathanam. So there are 1 Patikul Hare Sanya. Altogether, there are 40 subjects of meditations. You have to adopt any one of the subjects of meditations. Then you have to move forward. The next.
Then calmness.
Then,
after rupture, there is calmness, then bliss,
calmness,
then samadhi.
Now there are 2 terms, Samath and Vipassana. We have already discussed
Calmness
what is Samath. Samath means calming down. Calming down is the name of the Rupa Jhan and Arupa Jhan. We have seen Vitak Vichar Piti Sukekta Saitam Patham Jhanam, Dutiya Jhanam, Tatiya Jhanam, Chaturtha Jhanam, Pancham Jhanam, and then Akas and Chaitan, Biyan and Chaitan, Akin Chaitan, Nev Sanya, Na Sanya Aitan. This is the name of the calming down. That is the name of the Samatha. Samatha means your mind has become calmed down. What the obstacles, namely Kamachanda Vyapad Thinimidhu Kukucha Vichikitsa, were putting in the path of concentration. Okay, then after calmness,
there is bliss.
Bliss. Now you are moving towards the state of Lokuttar Bhumi. That you have seen there are 10 sanyojanas, 10 fetters, that namely Sakkaya Dithi, Vichikitsa, Silvat Paramas, Kama Rag, Patig, Rup Rag, Arup Rag, Man, Udhach and Avijja. Now you are moving towards the Sotapatti, Sagdagami, Anagami, Arhat, 4 Mag, 4 Fal. This is called as bliss.
Then samadhi.
Then samadhi, we have discussed that these are, you can say, and in more classified in Acharya Buddha Ghosh has discussed in Visuddhimagga, that is the Kamathan gaha Nidesh, 3rd chapter. It has been discussed in a very detailed manner. And in the 14th chapter, there are Sat Visuddhi. There are 7 stages of purification of our mind, how our mind can be purified. And this is the name of our samadhi. Then a person can go to the 4 stages, Sutapati, Sagdagami, Anagami, Anarat. So this is the name of that. And after that, we have discussed Arhat Mag and Arhat Fal. And Arhat Fal is the name of getting a state of eternal bliss. The last, you see, Nibbana.
Yeah.
After
there are some
samadhi,
steps, wisdom side to see truth, then disenchantment, and then dispassion, then deliverance, then wisdom that initiates cessation, and ultimately there is Nibbana.
Some samadhi, after samadhi, what is the rapture?
Yeah, rupture, then calmness, bliss, samadhi, wisdom side to see truth.
Wisdom, that is the Sat Visuddhi. What?
Yeah.
Panya, that is the 14th chapter of our Visuddhimagga, discusses about the Panya. That is the Panya Bhumi Nidesh. There are 7 stages of purification. That is the Sil Visuddhi, Dithi Visuddhi, Sankha Vitarana Visuddhi, then Yan Dasan Visuddhi, Mag Amag Yan Dasan Visuddhi, and then lastly Yan Dasan Visuddhi. So there are 7 stages of purifications. So under the Panya is the name of Bhasana Lakhana Panya, that it has the characteristics of getting enlightenment. or Chedan Lakhana, that through the Panya, we are able to make a distinction between the Kusal and Akusal.
Yeah.
So this is through the Panya, we are able to dispel the darkness of ignorance, that is avidya. And we are able to know through the Panya, we are able to know that all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to soulless. Sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe sankhara dukkha, sabbe dhamma anatta. Through the Panya, we are able to know these things. Then next step.
Then disenchantment.
Enchantment, that we are getting a state of enlightenment. That through that we are getting a stage of enlightenment. Then after enchantment,
Dispassion.
dispassion.
Yeah.
Dispassions, that we are rag khayo, dos khayo, moh khayo. That where there is the total destruction of the rag, dos and moha. That stage is called, as you can say, nibbana, a state of eternal bliss, where there is the total destruction of the desires, kamatana, bhautana, vibhautana. This is the name of the dispassions.
Yeah. Then there is deliverance and wisdom.
And
that
deliverance, that
initiates
is the
cessation.
vimutti. Vimutti means freedom. Freedom from all the defiling factors we are becoming. And lastly, where there is a state of that all the desires have been removed. That is the tanhai vipahanin nibbanam tambrumi. That where there is a total destruction of the desire, that stage is called as nibbana. So
Yeah.
this is the stage how a 12 links which constitute the whole life, Atit, Vartman and future, and how these are going, a person can get a state of eternal bliss, because this is another subject matter which can be discussed in another class. So I didn't discuss this, but it will take another one, you can say, hour for discussing all these things.
Yeah, thank you so very much, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more question? अभी
थैंक यू सर।
अभी है 5-10 मिनट है। हाँ
सर, जब आप नाम रूप वाली स्लाइड को डिस्कस कर रहे थे तो उसमें आपने बताया नमति इति नाम, एंड ये भी कहा कि जब हमारे 6 सेंसेस अपने रिस्पेक्टिव ऑब्जेक्ट से कनेक्ट होते हैं तो वो नाम होता है, कुछ इस टाइप का बताया आपने।
करेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है, हम उसके तरफ जा रहे हैं।
उसके तरफ
नमन
जा
करना,
रहे हैं,
नमन करने, दैट व्हिच लीन्स टुवर्ड्स द ऑब्जेक्ट, जो उधर नमन करना, मतलब एक तरह से जाने की अर्थ की कर रहे हैं।
और वेदना में भी यही चीज बताया, और वेदना में भी फिर यही चीज बताया कि जब सेंसेस ऑब्जेक्ट्स की तरफ जाते हैं।
नहीं, जाने का नहीं, वो कांटेक्ट, संसर्ग में, संपसा, व्हेन देयर इज ए कांटेक्ट ऑफ रूप विद द आई कांटेक्ट, then chakshu sampasa chakku biyanam upajjati. Whenever there is a contact of mobile with our chakshu, or whenever there is a sound which coming in the contact of our audible, that is the ear, then this is called as sparsa. And after that there is a arising of vedana. They are 5 in number, that is somanas, sukha, दोमनस, दुखा एंड उपेक्षा।
सर, तो जो जाने का प्रोसेस होता है वो नाम होता है,
जानना, हाँ, जानना एक तरह से नाम।
नहीं, गोइंग का मतलब ऑब्जेक्ट का सेंस की तरफ जाने का जो प्रोसेस होता है वो नाम होता है।
नहीं, देखिए अभिधर्म के ट्रेडिशन में जब हम जाएंगे ना, ये तो हम शाब्दिक अर्थ बताए कि नमति इति नामम, दैट व्हिच लीड्स टुवर्ड्स द ऑब्जेक्ट, लेकिन हम उसका दूसरा डेफिनेशन भी आपको बतलाए थे कि वेदना खंडो, संज्ञा खंडो, संखार खंडो, बियाण खंडो, असंखता स धातु इदम बुच्चति नाम। वेदना, संज्ञा, संखार, 52 प्रकार के चेतसिक और 89 और 121 प्रकार के चित्तों का नाम जो है एक तरह से नाम है।
जी,
ठीक है,
थैंक यू सर।
और कोई नहीं? अभी है 5-10 मिनट और लोगों को पूछने दीजिए
सर। उसके लिए थोड़ा लंच का टाइम हो गया है, लंच का, और नेक्स्ट गोखले सर का होना है। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, हम लोग आभारी हैं आपके। आपने आज परिचय संग्रह विभागों का आधा भाग पूर्ण किया, और कल फिर सुबह में सर का लेक्चर होगा 10:30 से लेकर के 12 बजे तक, जो जिसमें वो 8वां चैप्टर पूरी तरह से कंप्लीट हो जाएगा। तो हम लोग बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं सर आपके, और आप लंच में सभी लोग आमंत्रित हैं।